How apropos that we start the South Park Stick of Truth video review with the South Park sign. I'm Jared Russo. I'm the gaming editor for Geekbench, and this is technically the first video review in the website's history. So I'd like to welcome you real quick to geekbench.com or the YouTube channel if you're watching this. I have never done this before, so let us just jump right in. I was pretty lazy and didn't feel like writing a review. And I figured why not slap on some gameplay, official gameplay from Ubisoft, and kind of just talk about my feelings, my impressions on the game, instead of having to drum up a whole big long review as 1,000 words and edit it and have someone else read it, peer review it, blah blah blah, add some photos, add some tags, the normal nonsense you do on WordPress. So essentially, South Park is the Stick of Truth is a RPG that is very, very, very heavily inspired and somewhat, I guess, likes to steal from, likes to rip things off from Paper Mario. I would almost go as to say this is like a pseudo Paper Mario clone, and the reason I bring this up initially is because I love Paper Mario. Paper Mario 1 and 2 are my favorite games of all time. I'd say like top five, both of them. And I hate JRPGs, but somehow those games work. And I don't know why it clicks with me so much. Maybe it's because of the combat, with the action commands, the humor, the lighthearted nature to it. It is not super drenched in RPG cliches. It still has the bare bones mechanics, but it kind of just makes things simpler. It kind of just it makes it more accessible. And I know that the Paper Mario games are made for not for children, but they're made for a different audience than other role-playing games. But I feel like all of those attributes that I just explained are very apt to describe the South Park game. So I feel like the way that you move and the way that the game is laid out in this kind of flat 2D landscape where you're going left to right, basically, in the hub world, the way that you fight people, the way that you manage your inventory, and the way that you manage your stats, it is very Paper Mario heavy. And for the most part, this makes the gameplay pretty good. Pretty good. I feel like through the entire length of the game, I was never quite bored with fighting people. I was never quite like, oh, I just want to skip this battle. There was always something there to kind of keep me going, which is nice, because both Paper Mario and South Park, they keep introducing new enemies, and they always keep giving you new abilities, and in this game you get new weapons, and you get new modifiers for those weapons, and companions, and it never feels dull. It always is somewhat fresh, and I feel like that's basically what holds up the game from being just a really monotonous bore that people would hate to play through, because I can only imagine if this game was just like a total mess in terms of gameplay wise. Like if the RPG stuff did not work, if it was not quite as deep, because it's not super deep, it's not super intricate, it's not like Dark Souls or a Final Fantasy game, old school Final Fantasy game. It is somewhat surface level. Equip the highest ranking stuff that you have, the armor and whatever, and it's more or less straightforward. But if I could only imagine if this game was just like not fun to play, like if it was just not like purely the gameplay alone was not enough. I have no idea if this game would be as good as it is. I have no idea if it would hold up, because obviously the other side of the coin, the writing and the animation and the characters and the quests and the side quests and the in-jokes and the references to the South Park TV show are stellar. They're absolutely across the board amazing, and I'm sure everybody agrees with me on this one, because I haven't read anything on the internet I haven't read any contrarian views. It almost seems like if you are in for South Park just as a piece of pop culture, if you're in on the comedy, on the humor, and you're willing to kind of just go with it, even if you're not the biggest fan, like, you will probably like everything that you get here. If you are not, then I don't even know why you would be watching this. But so everything essentially on that end of the front, everything from Matt Stone and Trey Parker and their production studio, is just across the board amazing. The show looks like the game, and the game looks like the show. The voices are there, the comedy's there. If you're into the really old school, homages and the little references and things like that. Like that's great. You don't necessarily need that. Like a lot of the in jokes from the show are in like the junk that you sell, and you could just sell them all and just not look at them once, and you might get like a chuckle here or there. But really, it's like they wrote an entirely new season and they made that the base of the story, which is really great. It is that same patented South Park conspiracy theory, lots of things being interconnected, and lots of like wacky things that you wouldn't think are linked, just linked. And it's hysterical. It's absolutely amazing. This is probably one of the funniest games out there, alongside Stanley Parable and Portal 1 and 2. It's right up there. So all that stuff is stellar. It's all phenomenal. And really, you're playing the game to get to the next joke. You're playing the game to get to the next side quest or to meet the next person who will send you a friend request, because then you can maybe do something for them. And it's really, for me, it was about exploring the world and exploring South Park and going through the map and finding, treasure chests and trinkets and things like that in Pokemon. And just seeing like everything that I've seen from the show realized into a game, really for the first time, because I've watched the show since it started when I was a kid in elementary school, just a huge fan. And I've always played the South Park games, and they've always been really just goofy and stupid. Like they were very, very, very kitschy, and they were very interested in just like ripping off the same jokes from the show, and they were never quite up to snuff. And I can see why Matt Stone and Trey Parker never really got super involved with those games, because they were never quite quality-wise, like, up to snuff with the writing on the show. And they always just kind of gave out the license to whatever, and, got the first-person shooter and the game show and the kart racer and, a turn-based turret defense game. And this is obviously the first real effort that the writing staff has given to a full-fledged video game. And again, the final result is a really, really funny, great game that is true to everything South Park is. The identity's there. The habitual line stepping is there. A lot of really outlandish stuff that you do in this game, and there's a lot of really crazy stuff that you see in this game. There's like a small snippet of a level where you're shrunk by underpants gnomes, and you're watching two people have sex, and it's in the background, and everything you do in the level, you just hear them in the background, and it's hysterical. And there's some really, really tough stuff later in the game, a lot of gross out stuff. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm sure you've played this game or have finished it, or at least are familiar with the game, so you know what I'm talking about. But I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't dabbled with it yet. But so I'm very overall positive on the game, and I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be when they were selling it. I went to New York Comic Con and they showed off gameplay of it, and it was weird because for the first time in my life as a gaming journalist slash critic slash writer, I was always on the other end. I was always outside of the glass when I was watching people who were in the gaming industry get to preview games and see them before they came out, and then play them, and then play the final game. So they're kind of there for that whole process. And so for the first time, I finally got to see like behind closed doors demos of things, and then actually play the real game and kind of see like, oh, okay, it's a much different from what I saw to what I played, or it's very similar, but like seeing is one thing and playing is another. It's almost the same as if like you watch an extended clip or like an extended trailer for a movie, and then you see the whole movie. It really, it's like you need the full context of what you're experiencing. So what I saw at Comic-Con was the whole Jimmy section, who's the bard, and again, it was funny and it all seemed great, but it was very scripted. And once you have your hands on with the game, do you find out if it's fun, if it's interesting, if it's mechanically broken, or if it's mechanically sound. And there was a lot of talk when the reviews came out about this game being too easy and not being full-fledged and not being kind of the RPG that some people were really looking for. And I feel like that's fine. That's okay to kind of have, not a paper-thin, watered-down, I wouldn't necessarily call it that, but to have sort of a lighter RPG that just kind of focuses on the story. I'm A-okay with that. That's great. That's fine for me. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that this game I wish did better. And I feel like comparing it to Paper Mario again, a lot of the stuff was done better in Paper Mario, which came out literally like more than a decade ago. A lot of the button prompts that you do for attacking and defending in the combat, which you're kind of seeing right now, is not super great. It's sometimes okay, sometimes it's not. You need that context sensitive like feedback. You need to know that you're actually like doing things correctly. And they have that little white circle on the bottom of your character's feet to kind of indicate, but it's a little off from when you'd think you would want to attack or defend. Where in Paper Mario, it's very clear. It's very satisfying to know when you accomplish something, and it's very odd too because in Paper Mario, a lot of times like you would do like an extra hit, or you could clearly see like the damage being taken off if you block correctly. Where in this game, it's very scattershot. It's very strange. Like there's a lot of status effects that are not fully explained. Like I'm not quite sure what gross out or what's the other one that I'm thinking of? Screwed. Like I don't know what those mean. You know, you can play this game and not really know too much about it, and there's a lot of times where you'll be doing damage to somebody and you'll do no damage at all, and you're like, are they resistant to something? Because sometimes it'll tell you if they're weak or resistant, but you don't really know until you like fiddle through the menus, and it's a little weird. Also, the menus in the game, when you're in the main menu, you're looking through your stuff. Some of it's great, some of it's okay, and some of it is just really bad. Like modifying items, like modifying your armor and your weapons, is a chore. It's a hassle to go into what you were using, unmodify something that you like, equip it to something that is new. And I think what they wanted you to do was like use a lot of your stuff on all of your items and maybe switch through, but really you're just wanting to use the best thing that you have. So it's really cumbersome to kind of go through and like take off the modifiers, the little stickers, and put them on your new stuff. And then sell all your old stuff. I just feel like they need to make that much more streamlined. They need to make you be able to sell all your crap faster. Another thing that kind of really pissed me off, and this is through the entire game, the farting mechanic when you're out of combat. I never quite got it down, the whole right analog stick down up. That really kind of frustrated me a lot, and I wish that was way easier to do, because it doesn't need to be so needlessly complex. And also the mana system, the whole like farting in battle and using potions to recover your mana, I feel like that was completely wasted. Like I never used it. I never needed to. I played as the Juke class. I hadn't played the mage, but I would imagine like you don't get that bar refilled when you beat a battle. You only get your PP and your HP restored, which I actually kind of like. So there are a lot of nitpicky things that I really feel back are holding this back from being genuinely brilliant. But for the most part, it's a really, really great game. I didn't run into a whole lot of technical bugs and glitches that Obsidian's really known for. Like, here and there, like, very tiny, tiny stuff I would kind of run into. But overall, I really, really enjoyed South Park: The Stick of Truth. I think it's totally worth playing if you're interested in it. Totally worth buying. I'd probably give this game an 8.5 out of 10. That's the score I'd give. And check out geekbinge.com for more awesome gaming content. You can follow me on Twitter at @JaredRusso. Geekbinge has a podcast, a gaming podcast, Screen Bites with a Y. Check out on iTunes, and thank you for watching.